Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to talk about Indonesia. And let me tell you, it's a country that will probably shatter just about every stereotype you have.
All right, let's start with a little thought experiment. Just, right now, picture the world's largest Muslim country in your mind. What do you see? Go ahead, really think about it.
Okay, so for a lot of us, our brains probably jump straight to images of vast deserts, right? Maybe strict dress codes, government by religious law. It's the picture we've seen in the headlines for years.
But what if the reality on the ground looked more like this? This is a huge Hindu ceremony in Bali. Thousands of people openly, vibrantly celebrating traditions that go back centuries.
Or how about this? That's a Christian church in a place called Toraja. And yeah, those are buffalo horns. It's faith expressed through these incredible ancient cultural symbols that were there long before any world religion arrived.
And, to top it all off, get this. The official national motto, the words on their coat of arms, it's written in Sanskrit, the ancient language of Hindu and Buddhist scriptures. This is Indonesia.
Okay, so let's try to unpack this, because to really get why Indonesia is so different, you first have to understand just how massive it is. The scale is staggering.
So, you've got about 240 million Muslims in Indonesia. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. That is more Muslims than in the entire Middle East and North Africa combined. We're talking more than Pakistan, way more than any Arab nation. It's just a massive number.
So that leads to this giant, kind of obvious question, right? How in the world can the biggest Muslim-majority country on the planet have a constitution that explicitly guarantees freedom for all religions? I mean, how does that even work?
Well, the answer in this is so key. It starts way back, centuries ago. It's all about how Islam got to the islands in the first place. And believe me, this one detail, it changes the entire story.
And here's the huge difference. You see, in a lot of the Middle East and North Africa, Islam spread through military conquest, imposed from the top down. But Indonesia? Totally different story. It came peacefully, on the backs of trade ships carried by spice merchants and Sufi mystics, who were all about a spiritual, personal connection to God, not political power.
This whole approach was basically perfected by this legendary group called the Wali Songo, the Nine Saints. These guys were brilliant. They showed up as teachers, not warriors. And instead of saying, hey, drop all your old beliefs, they did the opposite. They used stuff like traditional Javanese shadow puppets and music to share Islamic stories. They weren't replacing the old culture, they were building a bridge to it. So, fast forward a few hundred years. This incredible history of blending and absorbing, not erasing, leads directly to this. Well, it's a philosophical masterstroke, right at the country's founding in 1945. So, picture this. The founding fathers are all together, and they're having this huge debate. Should we be an Islamic state? And in the end, they said no. They chose a different path, and they created something totally unique called Pancasila. And yeah, that name itself, it's Sanskrit for 5 principles. And this became the philosophical bedrock of the entire country.
Now look really closely at that first principle. It doesn't say belief in Allah. It says belief in the one and only God. That wording is so important. It was absolutely deliberate, a stroke of genius, really. It's broad enough to embrace Islam, Christianity, even Hinduism and Buddhism, without putting any one religion on a pedestal. This decision, pushed by their first president, Sukarno, was just monumental. What it means is that today, the debate in Indonesia isn't if it should be a pluralist country. That's a settled question since 1945. The debate is about how religious values fit inside that pluralist system. It's a totally different conversation and a much more moderate one. So, okay, how does this philosophy actually stay alive today? I mean, it's not just some old document gathering dust. No, it's actively guarded by 2 of the most massive and influential organizations that I'm willing to bet you've probably never even heard of.
Okay, let me introduce you to Nahdlatul Ulama, we'll just call it MU, and Muhammadiyah. And get this straight, these are not political parties. They are enormous, grassroots organizations. You can kind of think of NU as the more traditional one, really tied into local culture, while Muhammadiyah is a bit more modernist, focused on social reform.
And their size? It's breathtaking. Between the 2 of them, you're looking at something like 150 million members. That's a bigger civil society than the entire population of, well, most countries on the planet.
And their real power isn't in grabbing political seats. It's woven into the very fabric of society. I'm talking tens of thousands of schools, Countless universities, clinics, hospitals, they are the ones on the ground, the guardians of Indonesia's moderate character, really shaping the faith from the bottom up, not the top down.
Okay, now, we have to be really clear about something. Indonesia is not some perfect, happy-go-lucky utopia. It's not. The reality is way more complicated, and honestly, that complexity is a huge part of the story.
I mean, the country has very real problems. There's the province of Aceh, which does use parts of Sharia law. You've got conservative religious movements that are gaining ground. And yeah, discrimination against minorities, it definitely happens. Like I said, it's not perfect. But, and this is the thing that makes Indonesia so fascinating, so extraordinary. It deals with all these challenges, all these tensions, not through some iron-fisted ruler or a theocracy. It does it through a messy, loud, complicated, but functioning democracy. It's not pretty, but the framework holds.
And all of this, it really brings us to one of the biggest questions of our time, right? The one you hear debated everywhere, from TV news to university classrooms. Can Islam and a pluralist democracy, can they actually coexist?
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Indonesia, with all its messiness, all its imperfections, all its glory, it is a 277 million person, living, breathing argument that the answer to that question is yes. It's a fragile experiment, for sure, but it is a vital success story that I think the rest of the world really needs to pay more attention to.